Welcome to From the Gut, an unscripted conversation centered on spiritual health and human values. I'm your host, George Grant from the Woodruff Health Sciences Center, and my special guest today is Kim Bentley. She is the Vice President for Operations at Emory Hillandale Hospital, which is part of the Emory DeKalb Operating Unit. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, so glad to have you. And in this first series, we are centering ourselves on joy at work.
Mhm.
And you've been recognized as having a particularly delightful presence and just great leader. And so we wanted to have some conversation with you about what that's like for you. And we want to first of all start with some of the sort of the general responsibilities that you have at Emory Hillandale Hospital.
Sure. My name's Kim Bentley. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Emory Hillandale Hospital and have been on this campus for 9 years. Make sure we 10 full
Wow.
years here. And when I originally came to the campus, I was in a position of the Director of Patient Care Services. And that title evolved to Executive Director of Patient Care, and then moved into my operational role probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And when we joined Emory, it was retitled to Vice President of Operations, which is where I currently reside. And I will say this, as a Vice President of Operations, I'm sure my colleagues will agree with me, there is no job that we really don't get involved with. We are very operationally minded, meaning that all processes that have to do with supporting patient care, we become involved in. We have the role of implementation, forward thinking, detail planning, lots of collaborative conversations with patient care services and support services to make sure that we give the most excellent care to our patients. And so I always tell folks when they come to Hillandale is that no day is the same. There is no routine because it truly is whatever we need to do to support the best patient care. And that could mean that one day I'm spending a day with EBS, helping to look at their processes and improve those. Or maybe another day where I'm looking at adjusting during a pandemic to make sure that we have the processes in place to keep everybody safe. And so there is no job that is too small. We are involved in a lot of aspects of care, and our job is primarily to coordinate that support.
And as you say, we are in the middle of a pandemic. You know, it's still late November, and I'm sure that has presented, unique challenges to how your operations are going at Emory Hillandale.
Yes.
Is there something that sticks out for you that becomes something that has been quite enormous in terms of the challenge of being in the pandemic?
Yeah, I think so. That has really been all encompassing for several months now. And it did really kind of take, as it should, the forefront of everything we were doing directionally. And lucky to work with a group of operators throughout Emory Healthcare. And we teamed up in the very beginning to make sure that we shored our processes up on each individual facility. But for Hillandale in particular, the goals and the other hospitals as well, the goal never changed about making sure that we're safe and our patients are safe. So that has always been our number one goal. And so all of the decisions that we made were focused around that. One thing that was really significant here was when we lost 2 of our own employees to COVID 4 days apart at Hillandale. That was something that I can't describe the way that felt to us. We're very much like a family here. It's a work family. And our number one goal was to prevent harm to our staff and to our patients. And so when that happened, it hit us very hard. We were fairly early on in the COVID crisis, and formulating some of our processes and making sure we shored up our PPE processes and making sure that the staff were operating safely. And so when that happened, it was a big challenge. And so the other aspect of our role as leaders is to make sure that we provide not only physical safety, but mental safety,
Mm.
a safe place, a place where the staff can vent, that they can share the stress that they're feeling. And that was a real challenge because we were all very much learning together about COVID. And so
Right.
that was part that I think we maybe didn't even anticipate how heavy that piece is, but it is equally as important to make sure that our staff have, they feel safe and comfortable and that they have a place where they can step away because it has been tremendously challenging and very prolonged. And so if I had to pick one piece that I would say is been kind of a constant, which maybe we didn't anticipate, was thinking about these staff who are going through all of these various challenges and the emotional support that has been necessary to make sure that they're not only taking care of the patients, but taking care of themselves.
Mm. And as a sort of, as you say, a chronic, daily, moment by moment, fluid situation. And I am curious about what keeps you motivated, when you are constantly engaged with those safety issues. I'm sure that you've had your own challenges as well around safety.
Sure, sure. Well, I can say my background is a nurse. I'm a nurse, and I'm also an operator. And I think it's definitely my call, and I know I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. I feel like that caregiver in me will never leave. I really, excuse me, feel like that is what keeps me going, is understanding that impacting people's lives positively, whether it be patients, staff, any visitors, being able to positively impact them at some really challenging times is something that I get a great deal of satisfaction out of. I have committed myself to making sure that I do everything I can to assure that the staff, the patients are safe, the operations are supported at the Hillandale campus and beyond, because I think that is really what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm very spiritually grounded. And I feel like there's not a burden that's going to be placed on me that I cannot handle. And because I have that, I feel like these things are given to me because, I will be able to manage them. And that gives me a great deal of strength, even when it's very challenging, is that I know that there are others that have bigger challenges.
Mm.
And so mine is just a small thing in the scheme of
Right.
things.
And yet I feel at times that some of the best care response that we're about is because of our own personal experience at being in the other side of it. So that, as a care responder and a care seeker, to have that kind of understanding of what another person might be going through is because you have that story within yourself of how you've been cared for. And I'm wondering if is something just off the front of your mind right now comes into focus that you could share with us about being cared for and how that uh, leads you to have this empathic understanding with another person.
Right. Well, I can share, a personal story that another thing with these challenging months is my oldest daughter, who I'm very proud of, will graduate from nursing school in December.
Oh, great.
She, I had to, we had to take a step back because she lost her best friend who was 24 years old to COVID.
Oh my
And
goodness.
that personal experience was, it was very significant and life changing. And it impacted our entire family because, you know, he was kind of part of our family. He was our very best friend. And, you know, so that was something to where we had to pull together as a family unit and really count on prayer and count on our support mechanisms to um, one, be there for her and be there for her family, and really um, ourselves, take care of ourselves, because there was a great deal of grief that went into that. He was a 24-year-old with
Mm.
his whole life in front of him, and it happened pretty suddenly. So that was something where we personally had that impact us, and we had to make sure that we took care of ourselves and our daughter so that we could remain healthy and move forward, her and her upcoming nursing career, myself and my role, and our family. So that was something that was very significant, that impacted us and reminded us that we also need to have those support pieces in place for ourselves so that we can deal with that better.
Right. Do you recall a person or an event where you felt uh, was who was with you in those moments, that challenge of the loss?
Well, I always feel like God is with me, but I'm very spiritual. So I will say that God is our comfort. My husband and I, we pray for each other every day, every morning, so that we can have strength to move forward and do the things that we both need to do. And when we received this incredibly challenging information, we were out in public, and
Mm.
it was very tough. But the first thing we thought of was prayer. So we held hands and prayed. My daughter was telling us over the phone, so we prayed with her. And I think at that moment we were grounded in our faith, and it allowed us to move forward. So there wasn't a physical person, but we did rely on prayer and faith to
Mhm.
comfort us in that moment, because it was very significant.
Mm. And then carrying that into your work life, those experiences and your own faith. Um, I'm wondering, are there moments where you feel a deep connection to the kind of support that you've received? Uh, has there been something recently at work that has caused you to feel figuratively held?
To think about that. I have to say that I have an amazing team that work here, amazing team of leaders that work here at Hillandale, and it's a pleasure to work with them because, as we talked about earlier, it's very burdensome, it is very busy. We're all torn in different directions, and I find that on a daily basis that when it gets hard, the only thing that I need to do is seek out one of the leaders or one of the staff and engage in what they're doing. And we support each other on a daily basis. So when times are tough, that is really my go-to. Is I will go and do rounds and talk to the leaders, talk to the staff, and sometimes even round on the patients. And that gives me a lot of comfort and strength. Again, I consider the issues that I have minimal, particularly being a nurse and being in patient care for so long. I have been a nurse for 28 years.
Mm.
And so I have great empathy for the patients and what they go through, because we see them really at their absolute worst. They're dealing with things that are of such great magnitude that, for me, a busyness of a day or being able to support, I still have my health, I have my mind, and I have my faith. And so for me, all I need to do is reach out, and I can go in any direction. And it gives me comfort because I know that my whatever I'm going through is in such less magnitude of what others are. And when I see the individuals here, especially the leaders, giving everything that they have every day, it quickly regroups on whatever I'm going through. So maybe I'm having a frustration or having a moment of needing to talk, then it's very easy to reach out here.
So you are a very relational minded person. And it sounds like you relish the opportunities to make connection with people.
Oh, I do.
And
Yes.
yeah. Um, I'm wondering, though, in some parts of the job where it may seem sort of tedious,
Mhm.
the things that you are responsible to do and to work through. And how do you get through those moments with a smile and a laugh?
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly, yes, there are a few things that are tedious
Can you
and
name a few?
yeah, okay. So there are these reports that we do.
Mhm.
We have to do electronic reports a couple times a day. And you know, those are necessary things because globally we need the information and the data. But sometimes it gets challenging because this is 7 days a week that we're doing these
Right.
reports. They don't take very long, but it is tedious. I understand the big picture, so I can get it done. But would I rather be speaking with someone, holding somebody's hand, talking to somebody, helping support them, or actually implementing something that's going to improve a process? Absolutely. But it's one aspect of the job. We have a lot of Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings are great in terms of safety.
Right.
However, anything that takes you away from the interpersonal piece is a challenging, and those are things that we have to understand the greater good for.
Mhm.
A much more, I have a much more tendency to connect with people in person. However, I know at this moment in time, this is something that's necessary.
Right. And making those connections is even hard, right? Because of the
Yes,
mask and,
right,
and the kind of
right,
isolation and disconnection that people feel because of PPE.
right.
And tell me if you have found a way to reach through the mask in order
Yeah.
to make those connections.
Yeah, so I listen to people and talk about mask and how it puts a barrier in between, but you know, I have never stopped talking through the mask. I guess I
Mhm.
talk a lot, but I talk through the mask, and I
Right.
also talk with my eyes. I smile under my mask. Nothing has changed there. I often greet people as they hear me. They hear my voice. Of course, again, you can see your eyes. So there are ways that you can express joy, and you can let people know that, hey, we know that this is a tough time, but we can still connect.
Right.
We do have to socially distance, but there's ways of doing this and not changing the culture of warmth.
Right. You just I think reinforced this idea that uh, even if we can't see our mouths, we can say what's happening.
That's
Right.
right.
You can always say, "I'm smiling,"
That's right.
or "I'm glad to see you. I'm happy to see you,"
That's right.
and that's such an important reach out.
Mhm.
Uh, Tell me about the culture at Hillandale and your own hopes that it be a joyful work life experience for the people that are there.
So it's a very unique culture. I can say it's very special. Everybody who comes really, I will say, I can't say everybody, but most people feel it is a very family oriented atmosphere. The culture in regard for each other is very high. We care about each other. We check on each other, and it's there's not, you don't walk in and people don't speak to you ever. That never happens here. If you're lost, you can guarantee you'll have five people trying to walk you to wherever you're trying to go. And so in terms of connection, we're very connected. And it starts with leadership. Our leaders are all very open, and they foster a culture of, just consideration for each other, respect for each other.
Mm.
And it really, it permeates. And so people notice that when they're new and they come through the door, the very first thing they'll say is everybody spoke, everybody smiled. Now we have masks on, but there's still that feeling that you're welcome here.
Mhm.
No matter what walk you come from, you're welcome here. We've never discouraged anybody from coming. We love when people visit. It's like you get our personal attention every single time, and we truly have a lot of pride in our facility. It looks the part. It's very clean. Everybody is important on the team, and there is no small job when it comes to supporting patient care. And it really does show when you walk through the doors of Hillandale that there's a lot of folks that this is their hospital, and they own it.
That is so great to hear. Gratitude goes a long way, right?
Mhm.
And you seem like you appreciate your colleagues, and you appreciate the value that they bring to each other, to the workplace, and for the kind of care that they're providing to patients. Um, and I find that if I do have a sense of gratitude about my personal value to people that I'm working with, it really does make a difference, in terms of it's a contagion, right? In the
Right,
best of ways.
right.
We're heading toward Thanksgiving. In fact, it's tomorrow, and
Yes.
I'm sure you have a lot to be thankful for. I wonder if you have some closing thoughts around what Thanksgiving will mean for you this year.
It will definitely be different. I have lots to be thankful for. I will say that for sure. My family has health. I have a great workplace that has been supportive. And I could not be more thankful that God has protected me and my family throughout this whole pandemic, because there have been multiple health issues that have come up, and we are still standing strong. We had our holiday tree lighting this past week, and we all talked about how thankful we were to have each other, because it's been a tough year. It's been a really tough year. And to be able to express the gratitude to one another and recognize that we're all still standing, and we have been through a lot.
Hmm.
There is no better feeling than being able to still stand and say, you know what, I'm going to come back another day, and I'm going to do it again. And that is just a fantastic feeling, is knowing that we've been protected and comforted through this pandemic, and we're going to come out on the other side stronger. I have no doubt about that. And so I'm very grateful for everything that I have received in terms of support and comfort. So I could go on and on. Normally during this season, we have a giant holiday party, and this would have been the fifth year tradition of it. And it's something that I started several years back, but one of the focus of that celebration is that everybody in the room goes around and talks about what they're grateful for. And we all talk about that, and it's so impactful. I'm going to miss that this year. But we did a little mini version of that at our holiday tree lighting. But it's just amazing what comes out of people and what they're grateful for, and it's so nice to hear.
Well, let me just tell you that if I so appreciate that you show up, and
Absolutely.
what that means to your colleagues, and it indicates to me that there is a great amount of joy at Hillandale, Emory Hillandale Hospital. And I want to thank you for being with us today. It's a delight to get to know you. I think I met you briefly once,
Yes.
but I'm so glad to say that I'm a colleague of yours, I look forward to having guests, more guests on the show from Hillandale in the future.
Yeah,
And thank you so much, Kim, for taking the time to speak with us today.
absolutely. And thank you too. Have a great holiday. All right.
Likewise. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.